Gentlemen, welcome to the My Love of Golf podcast. Thanks for taking the time out for joining. Scott Carter, you're always welcome back as the co-host. We'll come back to you in a second. Scott, how are you, firstly? How are you?
I'm good, thank you, Roscoe. Good, thank you, mate. Good to be here again. Looking forward to it.
Huge week in golf. I'm sure you've got some personal golf stories that you're going to regale us with. But we have a very special guest joining us tonight. It's great to have the special guests from the industry and from around the world of golf that continue to join us, and we'll be doing more of that as we combine these shows with guests and a bit of tour talk. None other than Australia's very own host or founder of the Aussie Golfer website, the Australia's premier golf blog, and also very close to our format, what we talk about every week, the founder of Teepster. Now, it's the very, very pointy end of Teepster. Michael Green, how are you? Welcome to the My Love of Golf podcast, and thanks for taking the time to join us.
Thanks, Ross. G'day, Scott. Yeah, it's great to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
No, thanks for coming. And as I said, Aussie Golfer, Teepster, there's plenty to learn about both of those two fabulous entities, those great services, I guess, that you provide to the golfers of Australia and golfers of the world. We're keen to find out more about that. Let's maybe talk a little bit about you, your background, and how Aussie Golfer came about, and then that might lead us into Teepster as well. So introduce yourself to the My Love of Golf MLOGerati, as we like to call everyone after. We just made that up, actually. MLOGerati. I don't think it's got any legs, but anyway, introduce yourself.
You never know. You never know. I started Aussie Golfer in 2006, and like I think a lot of people that end up in working in golf or that love golf, I was introduced to it by my father back in Adelaide, in the northern suburbs of Adelaide. And actually my grandfather, he played at the same golf course. And I think it was actually in response to, it was kind of pre-social media. And I think I needed to get something off my chest at the time. And usually with social media now, you can just fire off a tweet and you feel much better about things. But curious about what blogging was. I mean, blogging was kind of big back then on different platforms, and I was just curious about how to use those sort of things. So I actually think it was when, do you remember, was it 06? I think it was 06 when Aaron Baddeley was in contention at the US Open, I think it was, and he might have even been leading. I think Angel Cabrera actually won it. But there was a lot of talk about how he actually choked, and it kind of riled me a little bit that suddenly he's in contention for one of the big majors and has a bad final round, and that was it. Everyone had written him off. So I kind of wanted to write something about that, and thought I'll start a blog. You need to start a blog about something you're passionate about, and that's kind of where it all started from. I think as well, a few people have mentioned me over the years that something I did, which I kind of didn't realize everyone needed, was actually just say when the golf was on each week. I put a little blog post about when the major was on, what channel it was on, when it was starting. And that used to get heaps of traction. I mean, it was just sort of little things that the average golf fan wanted to know. So I try and keep it that way a little bit. I put, professional tour stuff on there and that sort of thing. But I try hard to just put stuff that we'd all like to see on there, short game tips and random weird stuff that you see on TikTok and that sort of thing.
Where do you get the time? Because you do a number of things like in your professional career. Where do you get the time to do all this? I know and this isn't, I'm not complaining. I've got a golf shop that I do. I've got these YouTube videos that I make for Drum and Golf. We've got the My Love of Golf podcast, and there is this whole sphere of things in those ecosystems that don't happen because there's not enough time. How do you get all the time to find all this great information that you send down the interweb pipe every week?
Yeah, I do get asked that a lot. I think there's a few answers. I think one of them is, especially maybe more in the past, I didn't do things very well because I didn't quite have the time. And I've always wanted to write longer pieces and things like that. I read a little bit for a couple of magazines here and there, and couldn't quite fit that in. So I'd say no to things like, I remember when people were saying you should do more YouTube videos and things like that. I just could not commit to that sort of thing. You need to if you want to commit to it, I feel like you need to commit to it doing well. The writing's got better over the years, and I think I've got better understanding. Luckily, I think to our detriment, we all want short, fast little things now, right? We just want a quick video on a summary of something really quickly, and that probably helps me a little bit because I don't quite have the time to fill things out. But just things percolate in the back of my mind. I start articles here and there. I've got several on the go now that I think it's an area that a lot of the magazines and maybe other websites aren't doing. They focus a lot more on professional golf, and and maybe they fill it with golfing tips and things like that, where I think a lot of people just like to hear about new formats of golf, fun formats you can play, courses that you want to play, especially I think Australia's blessed with regard to public golf courses as well. I think people want to try out different golf courses, and that's a big thing.
Well, I was going to ask, what are the hot topics? You obviously see with being an owner of a website, you get to see what gets clicked on and viewed, and how people dwell on certain articles and topics. What are the things that people do like to read about and do spend more time absorbing in the Aussie golfer format? Because it's broad, it does cover a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, again, I suppose I write about stuff that I like as well, right? So I think there's people on YouTube that are touching on this now, in that they're finding interesting little public golf courses or country golf courses and things like that. So, I've written a few articles saying you should really go play these golf courses, and most people probably haven't heard of them. And I'm not necessarily lying in that regard. I'm like, this is a quaint little golf course that you'll get a kick out of, not just the golf course, but you'll get a kick out of sitting in the little clubhouse afterwards and having a Tui's New or Reshes or whatever people are drinking in these places. So,
yeah, it's a great point, that, because funny, remind me, I just replied to a tweet the other day. My background, a Scottish Australian, that I'm very passionate about golf in Australia, but also, golf in my country of my parents' origins. Mm-hmm. Someone tweeted something about where I should play in Scotland that doesn't get talked about, and I put the Braids. Now, maybe I've talked about the Braids on this channel before, but it's a public course, and Edinburgh's dotted with about 7, maybe 6 or 7 public courses, council courses. The council own them. This is quite relevant to this discussion, like Northcote Golf Course and Moore Park, that, the councils want to close them down and put houses on them or hand them back to the public. Well, Edinburgh's different. It's got 7 of these golf courses, and I always put the Braids. And I guarantee you that no American tourists and none of the tourists that come to Scotland to go and play golf go and play the Braids. It's one of the greatest little golf experiences. And I always put Craig and Tinney or Carrick now, all these little council courses, because people should go and play them. They're nothing like anything you'd go and see, but they're right in the middle of town. You can walk to most of them. So it's a great service to point out courses like Marrickville, like around the corner from where you are now and where I used to live in Tempe. How many people would come off the airplane and go and play at Marrickville? No, that's not the point, but it's a great little system of golf courses that we have, and they should be cherished. Like you were recently on with Rod and Adrian and some of the guys on other good golf podcasts, and they're very big on this barrow of keeping this public access golf available for all of this plethora of new golfers that are coming to the game, coming to sites like the Aussie Golfer to find information. I wonder how many people come to, like, your website for the first time. Just, I've got to find out about golf. Where do I go? Australian Golf, and they find you. These courses have to be maintained for the use. I can't believe that Sydney Council, I think it's Sydney Council, would even think about closing Moore Park Golf Course. There's Centennial Park right next door. It's not as if there's not a park there for people who live in the area to go and have a park. Yeah. Sorry, I've gone off.
I love playing the great golf courses of the world as much as anyone, right?
We all do.
I've been lucky enough to play some of them. But there's a certain, it's no, in some ways the whole experience is no surprise to me. The golf course is a surprise and the beautiful spot, and I get into the golf architecture and all that sort of stuff, and played for quite a while, so can occasionally hit a good shot, right? But there's something about, I think, these other courses where the experience overall is not what you were expecting. I think, I mean, a great example, we played Queenscliff finally. I took a bunch of friends down there. I still think about that day. That was what an interesting place to play golf and enter to the golf course, and even the clubhouse itself is a little tin shed thing that was. We had a great day. It was great fun out there. And I think the majority of golfers that I take on golf trips and stuff like that get a real kick out of that sort of stuff.
Queenscliff question. I haven't been there for a while. Do you still get searched when you go through there? Is it still?
You need to show ID.
Yeah.
And I heard secondhand, but they'll turn people away if you don't have ID. We had ID, so it was fine. But yeah, it's defence land, right? So
yeah. So I was just going to explain to everyone who doesn't know Queenscliff. It's a public golf course on active, military site. So there was once upon a time, I think, when they were, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but passing a mirror under the car, to check, do all sorts of checks like that. So anyway, very good. In the terms of golf media, you're very much involved in the whole golf media landscape in Australia through your role in the Australian Golf Media Association. You see it all, and you've been a strong supporter of, I would say, the My Love of Golf podcast over the years. Always been keen and happy to answer any questions. This is before we got to know each other and meet. So clearly, you see a role for a couple of amateurs, who love talking about golf and have the ability to put it out onto an audio system. Clearly you see a need for that, but you also, your cohort in the professional media service doing it paid media. Where do you see the media landscape sort of evolving and morphing as we continue to go around this short, sharp digital space?
Yeah. I mean, firstly, yeah, I'm definitely not a golf journalist or a great golf writer, and I know that because I've seen these guys. I've sat next to these guys and I see them write at the end of a golf tournament, watching these guys churn out these articles, and fabulously interesting golf articles about the final tournament play was mesmerizing to me. I'm like, wow. And I do think it's a huge problem. And I think I'm not sure it's going to get fixed, but these guys that were long-term golf journos, sports journos, fabulous writers with access to players and all that sort of stuff, it's all disappearing, and that long form is disappearing from golf writing. Yeah, on the same token, though, you're getting some. I mean, when you probably look back, you think, well, there was a huge gap just waiting there to be filled by golf fans and amateur golfers around the world. The videos on YouTube now, including this one, it's a plethora of golf stuff, right? And I love watching it all, and it's not professionally done. A lot of it, some of these, some of them. With technology now, you can do them really well, right? But some of these videos of just someone random playing a golf course and recording every shot, I kind of scratch my head and think, I've just watched an hour of that, and he shot 84, and I really enjoyed it. Yeah, it's a difficult one, and I do really feel for the golf journos, the proper golf journos, I should say, who are wonderful writers and can talk about the game and explain the game and explain what happened during a tournament really well. They're disappearing, unfortunately.
Yeah. Do you think that long form will? Well, I'm not going to say it's gone away. Definitely not.
No, it hasn't.
But be maintained or make a comeback? It will just morph into just a little bit more digitally accessible, like Shackelford's Substack blog that he sends out with great proliferation. It's like unbelievable. He just every week doesn't miss a beat. Sometimes you get 2 I don't subscribe, so I don't get the paid version, but it's
Mm.
unbelievable. And then behind me here, behind this green screen, is every volume of the Golfer's Journal, every volume of Link's Diary, every volume of Caddy, and 3 or 4 of Lawrence's McKellar magazines, which I'm a shocking reader. I much prefer to listen to something, but I can't help but not want to buy, not want to get them, not want to have them and support it, and to be able to flick through and read the articles, and so it's great.
I love it too, and I that's the other thing that I didn't realize for a while, but I actually really enjoy doing, and I want to do more of it. Is just actually writing something about someone else's long piece and saying, go and read that. You know, I remember the early days thinking, is that allowed, sort of thing? But I love doing that, and I want to do more of that, and support these people that are writing amazing pieces on golf. Scott,
you've lived on both sides of the Pacific Ocean, in sort of golfing Mecca, and now in another, probably the real golfing Mecca. Melbourne's the real golfing Mecca. You're a learned man. You love a bit of written material, and you love all the digital stuff, and you've morphed into podcasting and co-hosting. What do you think when you think about the world of golf media and golf journalism and writing versus digital?
Morphed/fallen into podcasting.
Wrangled, bribed.
No, but look, the art of long storytelling is kind of a bit of a dying art, I reckon. But at the same time, I think the really good storytellers are really good quality storytellers and publications like the Golfer's Journal. I think that has a place because it's just of great quality and great imagery, great photos and storytelling. So I think that there's a place for that. The way that we now consume media has obviously changed so dramatically over the last 5, 10, 20 years, and accelerated at each of those times as well. And I guess it'll keep changing, but and as we've talked about, everyone wants short, sharp information, and Twitter can be good and can be really bad for that. But I think the sickos, the diehards, will always appreciate the really good quality storytelling, and the people that are really good at that will survive, I think, through the next change, the next evolution. And I think the Golfer's Journal is a good example of something that will survive. These writers, switching to delivering their stories electronically, and which they did years ago, but are also kind of hanging in there. So, but who's the next Shackelford? Who's the next of the younger generation coming through? I don't know. Maybe it's an art that won't necessarily be passed on from generation to generation, and might kind of slowly kind of peter out. It's just maybe not as many opportunities for people to write and get those longer stories out there, and for enough people to want to read and take the time to consume them.
Michael, who do you like? Who are your favorites? And when you turn on the computer, or get your subscription of whatever you get, whatever you subscribe to, who are your favorites?
I mean, Jeff Shackelford, absolutely. I like Dylan Dethier, actually. I first read his first book called 18 in America. I don't know if you've read that. And I kind of picked up on it because I actually worked at the college in the US that he was a student at for a while, and I kind of made this connection of who's this guy that's and it was just a fabulous book about driving around America trying to play golf everywhere, just on his own in this old car. And he can write some long pieces that are really interesting. I actually think when he writes less about when he writes about golf outside of the professional world, it's even better.
Dylan Dethier is the chap that was on Full Swing. Is he a friend of Jordan's or that one of those guys?
I don't know, actually. Was he? I got halfway through the series. I haven't finished it yet.
Okay. And so what else? In terms of, the website Aussie Golfer. How would you describe it for people that haven't seen it, that end up going to it for the first time after hearing you here? Yeah, what would you say? Why would you go to Aussie Golfer? What are you going to get from it?
You're definitely going to get some stuff that you'll get pointed in the right direction for different things that you might miss. It won't get stuck on all the details of the professional world and those sort of things. There's other people doing that way better than I can do. You'll hear more about Australian golf and public golf, and then you'll also get a great overview of stupid golf things. I mean, it's a game essentially, right? So there's some funny golf stuff going on in the world at the same time. I always remember when I cannot remember the tournament now, when Tiger Woods hit a shot out of the rough and there was a big group of people behind him, and there was that guy had a cigar in his mouth, and I think he had this weird, did he have a turban on or something? He became this golf cigar guy, and then T-shirts were made of him and that sort of stuff. And we gave away T-shirts on the website of Golf Cigar Guy or whatever for a while there. So, the silly stuff that goes on around golf as well.
Well, if I look at Aussie Golfer here now, and you just 2 scrolls down, you'll see that Ron Chopper's set a new course record, and then you'll see that
exactly.
You'll see that in a more gruesome tone, that a body was found in the lake at a Sydney golf course. Yeah. So there's a bit of everything.
Yeah.
In those.
Yeah, there it is.
What's the background with? I haven't read it. Ron Chopper sets new course record at Super Golf.
Well, do you know about Super Golf?
No, I don't.
I didn't know about Super Golf either, but a couple of people from Perth go, "Oh yeah, Super Golf at it." Oh, okay. It's like a little par 3 course, but they give you these clubs with a big plastic head thing on them to play it, and they give you a big ball to play it. That's it. I think you get 3 clubs. It's almost like a kid set type thing, and the holes are a bit bigger. And Super Golf. I mean, I'm kind of surprised I haven't heard about this, because it seems like a really great way to get people into golf. But it's the golf course in suburban Perth, and I don't know, he went out there and said, "Is there a course record?" And they said, "What? No one." No one really knows about that, so he went and set one.
Well, give me 60 minutes, I'll be back.
Yeah.
That is, and it's played on a golf course, like Greens Needs. I wonder, it's interesting because one of my friends who lives in Lisbon, in Portugal, she was telling me that she had found a new love in her life, and I thought, "Oh no, what's happened here?" No, her new passion and her partner and her husband is paddle. Now, paddle is like one of these iterations of a bat and ball tennis over a net game, which I can only imagine and come from, I don't know which one came first, but what's the other game that's played in the States there, Scott?
Pickleball.
Pickleball.
Yeah.
I wonder if Super Golf is the pickleball of golf.
Well, any way to get people into it. I was in traveling around. We took the kids and the family away on a big trip recently, and the only golf I played was at a mini golf course in Canada, just outside Toronto. And a friend took me there, and he said, "This is a real turf mini golf course." And I don't really know what he's talking about, but yeah, it's like every hole has been cut into the grass. So it's a green. The first hole is a long green. It's got these little bunkers either side. Next hole is another turf hole. I mean, the maintenance people maybe can do it in that part of the world. But it was incredible. I've never seen anything like this before. I mean, I've seen large Himalaya type putting greens, and I've seen mini golf courses, but this was real turf, real green mini golf course. So these unexpected weird golf things that pop up from time to time. They play a sort of short form of golf in Japan too, don't they?
Yeah,
I forget what it's called.
I think one of the magazines that we're just talking about might have done a story on one of those. With a bigger bat and a funny ball. Yeah. Okay, without giving away any trade secrets or marketing initiatives, what's next for Aussie Golfer? Where do you see it developing in the next great period of time?
Oh, mate, that's a good question. Yeah, I've often wanted to develop it as a place where other people can write and add their own things. And I've tried that a little bit in the past, but kind of unless you get full commitment and routine and regular pieces from people, it probably doesn't quite work. I'm just going to keep plugging away. I mean, when I say plugging away, it's still a passion. I enjoy doing it. I would have given away ages ago. It's just a little thing that gets me some beer money here now and then, and that's kind of about it. But it's fun. Yeah, it's kind of fun being involved in the media and playing the occasional great golf course and spreading the word, really. I have nothing more reason for doing it other than that.
Well, as I said, you've been great to me. You invited me into the Golf Media Association, which I was quite chuffed about, and you joined me down there at the Oz Open, and we had dinner together, and introduced me to some people that I didn't know otherwise, and made me feel at home in and around that cohort of people who, like yourself, I would sit there and look at them write these articles and do all of the things that they do, speak to the people that they speak to, and do an amazing job. And you welcome me into that environment, so I've always appreciated that.
I remember the first time going into one of the media centres, the first tournaments that I was at, one of the Australian Opens. I think it was down at, I think it was when Stuart Appleby won down at New South Wales. I was really scared shitless, I suppose, really, just making sure that, I mean, that was the time when bloggers were starting to maybe take over the realm, and I wasn't thinking I was doing that or not. But all of them couldn't have been nicer to me. Yeah, it's the Australian golf community, the Australian golf media community is a pretty close-knit group and have gone through a lot, and that's why I'm happy to support them.
Very good. Hey, Scott, have you got any other questions for Michael about Aussie golfer? Because we're going to start talking about the thing that keeps us turning up every week, and that's Teepster in a minute.
But, I reckon we roll into Teepster, mate. I'm really looking forward to hearing how Teepster started and getting to the table for the very last round. But let's roll into finding you more about Teepster.
Michael, let me tell you about my Teepster journey. We started this a year ago, and more and more people joined, and I'm not sure how many are on the sort of database now, but let's say it's around 100 or so. I don't know how that sort of ranks in the Teepster sort of groups that are in play, but I remember last year when I sort of wasn't going so well, and all I could do was put myself down. And then this year I thought, I'm not going to go and do this with any expectations. I'm not much good at this picking tips. And then all of a sudden I find myself in sort of 4th, 5th, 6th, 3rd position. And then the chest started puffing out, and then I was the absolute font of knowledge. I couldn't be beaten. And then last week I picked Hideki Matsuyama.
Oh, did you? Of course you did.
So
Hideki.
so it's like full circle. It's an absolute full circle. But as we know, as we will talk about, it's still all open and many people can still win. But let's talk about Teepster, because I just think it's great that what it's done for us is, just give us another aspect of, the 20 or 30 people that listen to this every week, to keep them engaged, give us something to talk about, have a bit of fun. How did it come about? How did you start Teepster? What was the concept there?
I should say first, I have that journey too, exactly what you've gone through. I've had this year, I've been terrible, my picking. And I've had occasions where I think maybe this is not a good idea. It's like footy tipping as well. I'm not interested if you're not doing well. How did it start? I know a lot of people I still know a lot of people that are doing a similar thing on Excel sheets, emailing someone with their pick. I'd heard a bit about that, and then we did it with a group of friends on an Excel sheet. And I thought, this is a little laborious, but good fun, just for a bit of a laugh, really. How can I automate this and get it on a website, so that exactly like footy tipping websites, that you just go there and create your own league and it runs itself type thing. You don't have to remind your friends of putting their picks in. It just reminds you yourself with an email. So Oh, I think I tried to get this off the ground maybe in 2012 or something. A developer said he could do it, paid him quite a bit of money, and he couldn't do it. And that was the end of that. And I've since realized, I kind of understand why, because there's a lot more going on in the background than even what I thought there would be. And then I came across another guy in the US who was a friend of, do you know Russ Kirkner? Anyway, he was involved at Bonnie Doon for a while. He's a great golf marketing guy, and his brother is a great developer. They're all I kind of feel like I'm in the wrong profession. These developers earn really good money, and I never quite have enough to pay them. But he got it going for me, and it kind of bare bones in some ways. But the data comes in, and you get your email and make your pick for the week, and people seem to have a bit of fun with it, including you guys.
It's great fun.
How many years is that now that Teepster has been up and running?
4 or 5.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
it's a good question. I kind of get a bit mixed up because I tried for 10 years. I've definitely tried for 10 years.
And how have you seen it grow? Like, without telling any, stories that you don't want to or shouldn't tell, but sort of what's the scale of how many people it reaches now?
There's about 7,000 or 8,000 signed up. And it's really Australian based. In my head, I always thought that what would be great is that eventually you have almost a golf club versus golf club situation going on Teepster as well. You have 50 members from one golf club making picks, and their best score is playing against the golf course down in Melbourne as well, and all that sort of thing. I've heard some great stories of a couple of people in Adelaide, or one person in Adelaide said that he was playing golf one day with some guys, and they said, "We've got a big dinner after this." And he said, "What's that about?" He said, "Well, we play this golf picking game, and the top half, the bottom half have to pay for the dinner for the top half at the end of the year of their little league. I think there's 20." And he said, "Is that Teepster?" He said, "Yeah." So I've heard quite a few stories of those sort of things where there's quite a bit of money online. Actually, I've had a few emails from people saying, "Is this pick correct?" Because there's a lot of money on the line this week. So, quite a bit of money in some of these leagues. So, it's it's getting bigger slowly, and again, it's just a little passion, and I enjoy doing it. And the only problem with that one is the only problem with Teepster is it's a complicated website behind the scenes, and I don't quite have the skills to do it properly, so I have to pay developers to help me out with that one.
So which then I guess the next question is, we sort of spoke about it a little bit off air, but can we think about, will Teepster be expanded? Will we see other tours come under that Teepster umbrella?
I mean, for your particular, one of the biggest questions I get is, my golfer just withdrew like Hideki did last week. I need a backup, and I want to implement that. It's not as simple as it sounds like it should be. I absolutely want the LPGA tour on there. That was my first one. There's no one really supporting that sort of thing in terms of picking golfers and fun golf leagues around the world. It'd be great to have the LPGA tour there. I'd also like to get the Aussie tour a little bit on there as well. It'd also be great to have a little system whereby you could put all your golfers on your golf trip into it, and you can make your picks and do it yourself. There's lots of things I want to get going that on Teepster. We'll see. I'm trying.
Oh, well, it's been, as I said, great for us to have it as a nucleus of a part of our weekly conversation. Every Monday I look forward to the email to see, to confirm how much I have either lost or not gained, or how much someone else has overtaken me. Everyone, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for sticking around this long, and we'll see you next week on the Mile of Golf podcast.